wonder what happens when you stop pretending and feel? I am Amanda Andrade, founder of Mastering Relationships Academy and author of If You Allow It, You Can Feel It. This is the Journey Unscripted podcast. Real conversations, unscripted moments, and the emotional truths that connect us all. On today's episode, meet Princess Simpsons, a visual artist and writer, a mother of two daughters, and the grandmother of a cat named Soda
Hold
Pop.
up.
I love that. With a life vision centered on creating and connecting the dots. She uses this podcast as a living canvas, blending stories, reflections, and creativity insights into conversations that feels both intimate and expansive. Thank you, Princess, to being here with us. And I really appreciated you reserving this time for us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And as we've been talking about the dots, how did you get started with this concept of connecting dots? How did all of that started in your life?
Well, I think as a kid, my mother was, she pretty much raised me as a Renaissance type of person. She had me in the arts, she had me into science, she had me, dancing and ballet and microscopes and telescopes and stuff like that. So, I mean, I was from early age, and I liked it. I mean, it was, and I really didn't reject it. And I was into sports. And so I was really well rounded. And that made a great impression on me. So, and then, I was in gifted and talented in school, and so that was also kinda like, real well-rounded. I loved those hours when I got taken and I got to do stuff in gifted. But, then I grew up and I majored in physics at university, and I always, like, looked at the Renaissance painters and stuff like that, and I wanted to be an artist, but I was into science at the time, and I couldn't take both the programs. And so when my plan was, when I got out of physics, when I graduated with my bachelor's degree, I was gonna transfer over or go over to Georgia Tech or maybe something like that and do architecture, which I felt was like a holistic type of, approach to both science and art and stuff like that, and very and practical. So but, that didn't happen because I got married, to a Navy guy, and so we were traveling and all that kinda stuff, but I never forgot about, my both interests, and there's always people struggled with when I talked about my passions and stuff, and it's like, "Well, it's so different," and to me, they weren't different. Art and science and music, all of that was connected, but people did not see the connection, and then I realized that there was a philosophical shift in the zeitgeist. So there used to be a time where people appreciated people who were connectors, and then we moved to a time, I guess, like after the industrial revolution, there was a degradation of thought in terms of we don't like connectors, we like specialists. And so the world started to be built around specialization and specializing in a craft and becoming a master of that specialty. But really, I grew up to understand that there was not, that everybody's brain is different. And like my husband is a specializer. And then we had some struggles in our marriage because our brains were like so different. It wasn't just male and female difference. It was just, he saw the world in a different way. And so I realized because of trying to understand us and our marriage and me and him, I started really like doing a lot of research in neuroscience. And so I got and design, right? And like how the world is designed and how do we design things to make things work. And so anyway, it got to the point where I came across information that talked about, there's connectors in terms of design. There's people who connect, and in UX, UI, design, there's people who are connectors, there's people who are tunnelers. And in translating, it's like specialists are like tunnelers. They fixate on one topic and they go deep. That brains work that way, and that's how they are optimized. But I think that also there's people who are connector, and I think the difference where my epiphany for me was that it's okay to be who you are. So if you're a connector, be a connector, and if you are a specialist, be a specialist. It's not a right or wrong. It's
Yeah.
just knowing who you are, and it's the problem is when the society and the institutions and the organizations only want one, and so the other is left out. And so it's kinda like that. There used to be a game when I was a kid called Perfection, where you time that you had to put the shape in the right shape, you know? And if you didn't, it would you lose. Well, it's like being a connector in a specialized world, you don't fit, right? So anyway, but I had to get to the point where I was okay with that, and then realize that I have to build my own world, and then attract other connectors. And so that's where I'm at now. I'm at a place where, I'm fine with people being what they were, being what they are, but I'm looking for my people, and I'm looking to connect the dots with people who want to connect the dots. And I think because we lost a lot of information and a lot of solutions to problems because we only specialize. It's because it's kind of like when you go off world, when you go out in space and you look at Earth, you can see Earth from a different perspective, and you gain insights that you wouldn't have when you're on Earth, like the ant. And so I think that we need both kinds of people. We need connectors and we need specialists. And there's room for everybody. So I just kind of want to amplify that idea for everyone.
And that is beautiful. That is so much to explore on that. And first, thank you so much for sharing that with us, right? And I would like to start it from the point of like accepting yourself for who you are and how to be authentic. So, from that space, what was your biggest challenge accepting who you are and embracing who you are?
You mean what caused me to do it, or how did I do it?
Be everything, right? Because it's a process. For instance, the moment that I
Mm,
accept my neurodivergency, first I
yeah,
acknowledge my
yeah.
neurodivergency. So then I gotta accept that. So then how I am authentic with that. So that kind of process, you're gonna find your own unique way.
Well, I think I guess I say, like, when I got sick, when I got cancer, I think one of the big epiphanies I had when I got cancer was that, or when I was going through the cancer adventure, is
Love you saying that adventure.
that people things are not the way you think they are. Like, when you go when you go into the hospital, when you go to the doctor, people tell you, go to the doctor, listen to the doctor, do what the doctor tells you, and everything's going to be fine. But reality is usually, well, my reality was when I went to the doctor, I got 15-20 minutes with the doctor, and I go in to see my oncologist, and he just looking at my chart. The moment he sees me, he hasn't, it's not like Little House on the Prairie when they're thinking about your chart and kind of coming up, like, no, they got 15 minutes with you, and that's all you getting. And so if you don't become your own advocate, then you're not going to get the most out of the things. What I realize is that doctors are, even the best doctors, they're just, they're doing a job. They're doing a job. They're kind of like a mechanic. It's not like they're doing all this research all the time trying to find they only have so much time. It's just like, they only have so much time and to spend with you. So you have to kind of be a team player. And so I stopped trusting authority. I mean, I kind of went back to being sick. Kind of put me back in the state I was as a kid, where I early on I started to distrust authority figures and people who were in charge. And I very early in my youth, I got a clear understanding that people were in charge. Some of these people don't know what they're doing. Just because they're in charge and position doesn't mean they know what they're doing.
What
And so
make
I
you
felt I
thought
found
that?
that with kid when I was a kid, or
Yeah, what make you thought that whenever you was a kid that authority, it's not what they think that they are
yeah.
claiming it? What
Well,
make you
one, I had 4 principals in 4 years in my high school, so, there was something going on, and so there was something untoward, and, the teachers were, kinda crazy. Those teachers was having sex in school. I mean, it was a lot of inappropriate stuff I saw adults doing, and I was like, "Okay, well, they're just people." And so, this hierarchy, it doesn't make sense. I couldn't wait to get out of high school because I just didn't like all these, what is it? The word where you tediousness. It was just a lot of stuff to do, like busy work, instead of really engagement and creativity and helping us think and all that. It was almost, it's just like, busy work, drone work. And then with all these rules, and they weren't even following their own rules. And so there was a lot of hypocrisy. And as a kid, I saw all that. And I'm like, okay. So I can do this on my own. I can do better than this on my own. So I got to get out of here. So I couldn't wait to go to college because that environment, college environment, was a lot more kind of the way my mother had kind of set my brain in motion as far as lifelong learning, finding information, going to the library, get stacks of books, and just eat it all up and then think about it. And then in college, you get to talk about it and engage with other people doing the same thing. And it's a wonderful kind of experience that I was in. And high school wasn't like that at all. It was more like a prison for me.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for being authentic and vulnerable, right? So you mentioned 4 steps or like pillars that you had it in a high school, or just principles that you had it. Would you like to share with us which one was your principles or what was your principles on that moment?
Well, what I meant principals was, the principals as the principals over the school, the like principals, vice principals, and I think,
Okay.
yeah, not my principals as a kid. I don't think I had a principal other than,
You had it because you acknowledge that.
yeah, don't trust authority was a principle, I guess. I think actually, if I go backwards, I remember one of my earliest moments when I realized that things wasn't right was when we moved, my family moved from Georgia to New Jersey, and I went to elementary school, and I remember the timing of it was we moved to this city and Plainfield, New Jersey, and one of my first memories was that the teachers were on strike. And I was like, "What is this?" As the grown-ups were outside, picketing and everything, and I was like, they were angry and they were not being treated right, and I was like, "Why? Who would not treat a teacher right? Like, that doesn't make it like, what? Teachers are having to fight for their rights?" I was like, "Something's wrong." And I said, "They're trying to fight for not getting paid enough money. Like, teachers? Like, they're, like, the most important, you know?" And, so that was a first dent, like, something's not right. Something's wrong here. Teachers are being mistreated and they don't have any agency. I was like, that stuck with me. I remember that was like one of those impressions that kind of stuck with me, and it grew as I started just watching adults and stuff, and I was like, this is something's going on here. And then
Yeah.
the second impression I had, and believe it or not, in elementary school was, we used to be able to go to the library every week. We'd had to go to the library in the school and check out books, and that was great. But I remember in my library in 5th grade, there was Mein Kampf, Hitler's Mein Kampf was in the library, and I checked it out because I was like, "Why is this in the library?" And so I
Yeah.
want to say, "Why is this? What is he? What's going on here? Is this book?" First of all, what was he? Because I knew he was supposed to be a bad guy, but I was like, okay, I want to understand what he was talking about. And I'm reading it, and I mean, a lot of something went over my head. But even as a 5th grader, I realized a lot of this is crazy talk, and I was like, and I checked it out like 2 or 3 times. But I was in an all black, pretty much all black elementary school at the time. The city Plainfield had experienced something called white flight, and a lot of the white community had moved out as Black and Hispanic communities moved in. This was like late 70s. Uh, so but we had an excellent library for whatever reason. They left the library, and it was well stocked, and all the schools had excellent libraries. And this book was left over, so they didn't take this one with them. So in any case, I read the book, and I read it a couple times as a kid, and so that was another impression. Like, okay, why is this book here? And why did they feel that it should be in an elementary school library? And then when we're talking about as I grew up, I remembered, I was like, because in high school there was like banned books and stuff like that. And I was like, that book wasn't banned. Why wasn't that book on the list of banned books? They got 1984 on the book, but that book wasn't. So it was just like, things are, just because people in authority say something doesn't mean necessarily I have to accept it. So that was like an impression.
Totally understand that and I honor them, right? And just to share a little bit what you've been experienced with the school and all of the principles that you just share with us. Another day I was in a podcast being an interview. No, I was in a
Mm,
podcast as a guest. So
mm.
then they asked me, if you are mayor of your city, what would be the change that you would do it? My answer was education.
Mm,
because we've been a system which is designed for us to decor, like to memorize things, not to
mhm,
being a creative.
mhm,
And the whole system, whenever it's designed to remove your creativity and to remove your critical thinking, is designed to control you.
mhm,
And this education system, it's been over and over and over. It's so old, and it is not designed for what we need as right now, going
mhm,
through in this revolutionary technology process of humanity. You mentioned about the time of the industry revolution, right? So now we are having another revolution, which is technology. And
mhm.
have you thinking about it, how many jobs we're going to be losing because of AI? Have you think about it, how much we're gonna be need to use our creativity in this sense of like interacting with machines? Because
Absolutely.
we put the prompt in that. The same time that we're going to lose a few works, a few jobs, we're going to create another one, sure. But for us to create another one, since to be prepared for that, we need to use our critical thinking, our imagination. And as you are creative, because you are an artist and a writer, I found fascinated whenever you mix the science, the and with the creativity, because it's the two sides of the brain, left and right, rational and intuitive, that you just blend it. And that's so fascinated because we can
Huh.
use them like connected, because it's
And,
about connection. And how throughout the years, as you've been just sharing that, we've been disconnected.
mm,
Actually, we've like
right.
the word in the pace that has been, it's we feel that we've been disempowered in a
Mm,
sense, right? And
mhm,
whenever you mention about the authority, what
mhm,
can I do in order to be my own authority
mm,
and not
mm,
seeking for others' validation or
mm,
permission? I think
mm,
permission is the most important word in this case.
mhm,
Because if I am my own authority, right, in a
mhm,
helpful
mhm,
way, right, seeking for helping others, to be creative and to
mhm,
live in a better world, I
mhm,
don't need to seek for validation from nowhere.
mhm,
I'm gonna share that with others. So then we
mhm.
can live in a better community. You can live in a better
Absolutely.
world. But and
Mhm,
then I understand like you are growing up in that scene, which is just like you had so much awareness, princess. And it's just so beautiful. Whenever we have the awareness, we also have the power with it. We have responsibility, but how to embrace that and going through in this world which is being chaotic as right now. So the way that we see the world, it's also like from our own perspective in life or things that we've been through, and the only way out is through, right? So
absolutely. Only way out
so
is through. Exactly.
it's we just share about that. And you mentioned about your adventure journey
Adventure.
with cancer.
Yeah.
Would love to hear your experience with that, because I found very delightful whenever you say about adventures, because you embraced that with so much courage, and even for people that it's going to listen to us. How was it the journey for you through cancer?
Well, it kinda just to get navigating it was, it kinda to I had to dig deep inside myself, and because I felt very alone, and even though people were around me, I felt very alone, and so I had to kinda dig down inside myself. And another thing I do, I was a fencer, a competitive fencer with swords. I fenced all three weapons, epee, foil, and saber, which come from my ballet. So that being a ballet dancer and then a fencer, there's a synergy from that. So anyway, I'm a fighter. Okay, I fight. I know I can fight, put it that way. I'm a lover, but I'm also a fighter. So, but it was a fighter in me that was like, okay, how am I going to do this? But also, I was trained. My background, my degree is in science, and my research background was in science, physics, and chemistry. And so I'm talking to doctors, but then and a little backstory, when I graduated college, I was thinking about going to PhD MD program and either get married or go PhD MD program. And I always my mother, even though she made me a Renaissance type person, she also kind of makes me a masochist. And so I always choose the hard thing, right? The hardest thing. It's I'm not saying it's a right mentality, but it's kind of how I was raised. There's a value in hard work and struggle and overcoming struggle. So anyway, I was like,
The
interested in PhD
self-worth.
MD program. Yeah, PhD MD programs or surgery. Two hardest things I could think of, right? And then also was challenging me, or get married to a military guy. I don't know what happened, but I chose
That
that
was
one.
hard too?
You know, I know. Well, the truth is, I couldn't figure out how to do that and marry him. And I knew he was who I wanted to marry, but I didn't want to lose that situation, that relationship. But at the same time, I couldn't figure out how, because the Navy was military, very complicated, especially for the spouse. And I didn't even know at the time because I was just 20 something, so I didn't know nothing. And anyway, so that took me another direction. But the point was, because of my science background and my research background, I could read and understand the papers about the medicines they were trying to give me and the therapies they were trying to give me. And in the time there was a lot of cutting edge, like immunotherapy was coming out. They were talking about privatized medicine, where it would be like, I'm not saying privatized, right? I'm talking where they focus is focused on the one person, like where the medicine is like designed for you. They moved away from that talk now, but doing it, I think I was in treatment around 2012, 14, 2000, between 2012 and 2016. And so in that period, they were talking about stuff like that. Immunotherapy was happening, and I did receive that. So in addition to my chemotherapy, I also got immunotherapy. So anyway, there was a lot of new stuff coming out, a lot of new drugs, a lot of new pharmaceuticals, and a lot of new protocols. And so when you hear the words "I got cancer," you have cancer, it's shocking, obviously. And you kind of, most people would shut down, and I did too. But because of my science background, I was able to, like, okay, how am I going to navigate this? And so I started reading the papers the doctors were supposed to be reading. I would do my Google searches, but I would Google medical journals and not
Mhm.
just popular science. I would actually read the papers because I know how to read the papers, and I understood the statistics and stuff like that. So anyway, I would come back to my doctors with all this information and questions based on the studies that I read. And they were like, where did you read that? I was like, what? I said, you don't know the study? So sometimes they did, and then sometimes they did, and they told me, "Why you're not supposed to know that." Like, not that you okay, let's talk about it. They like, then I wasn't supposed to know it, and I was like, "That's a red flag." So, but then some doctors were
Yes?
like, "Okay, yeah, let's talk about it. That's good." And so those kind of doctors, I was like, "Okay, we're a team," and so
Yes.
together we'll figure this out. And those situations were positive, but the negative ones were like, okay, that just shows me there's just a lot of diversity even in the medical field, and you can't be passive about your health. You have to be
Oh,
active. And even though
yes.
they are supposed to help you and you go to the hospital and you go to the doctor, don't be passive. And that was a lesson to don't be passive in your life. I mean, maybe some of my sickness journey started with me becoming more passive and being less active just because of things that happen along the way, which is life. But the awakening came from, okay, it's kind of like pressure. When pressure's applied to a thing, it's either going to break or crack or it's going to hold. And if it holds, it actually can become stronger. I'm talking about like in the studio when I'm making things and sculpting or painting or whatever. I've seen that with pressure, right? And I felt like the cancer was one of these pressure situations, and I had to pull all my background and all myself, my true self, I had to dig her out because being in the military also, I mean, especially as a dependent, as a wife, as a spouse, you can lose yourself. And I think you can do that in any connection type of thing. But I think at some point I lost a lot of my old self, and the cancer, believe it or not. And I hate when people say, cancer was a blessing, but I'm of the situation that you can turn anything, you can see your way through anything based on your perspective. And I chose to see this pressure situation, this knot in my life that could kill me or not. I chose to unknot it as best as I can. And I had to go find Princess again before everything. And that really kind of gave me, that was my awakening. Like, I don't know if I would have had, if I would have woke up that way if it hadn't been for the cancer. So in that sense, that particular pressure point was the one that triggered me to wake up. Okay. Maybe something else could have done it too, but that was mine at
To
the top.
find
So,
yourself again and to connect with who you are. And
yeah.
that answered the question about, was it the hardest moment for you throughout
Mm,
this journey? And it's really like accepting the challenge, because remember,
yeah.
you like hard things for you to break through, right? Because it was the way that you were designed.
Yeah, I
But
guess.
you were not waiting for that, are you?
No. Yeah.
And then he comes the divine to see, like,
Yeah.
hey, you are more than capable to break this through, or whatever you had at that in your mind, and you made it. You made it. How beautiful. And this is, would you
Well,
like
I'm
to
here.
share the breakthrough?
Well, I don't know about the breakthrough. Getting through chemo was very difficult, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about, but mostly I learned a lot about myself and how I wanted to navigate the rest of my days. And no one, I think, like, one of the things would have a cancer or being sick in general, especially when it's a potentially terminal situation. And luckily I wasn't stage 4, I was stage 1 or 2, something like that. So treatable, but you still kind of wake up with, like, you don't have the rose colored glasses on, like you are going to live forever. So when you start realizing that you're not gonna live forever, and really truly everyone is in the same situation, but most of us, unless you have a pressure point to trigger you, to be aware of that, you kind of glaze through life and be like, la da da, until too late. So having a wake up call at some point in the mid part of your life is actually could be a good thing for you to take stock with what time you have left. And I think that's a good thing for all of us to do. And hopefully we can get to that point without having can't getting sick. Whatever it is, the universe laughs, at us, will throw us a curveball. And I think whatever is needed to wake up, because then
Yeah,
you can really start living your life.
absolutely. You can start living your authentic life, I
Hmm.
would say. And that is 3 points that people will have their wake up call, right? Through
Hmm.
health, just like you
Hmm.
had it, right?
Hmm.
Through romance, which is just like relationships, and
Hmm.
finances. 3
Hmm.
ways. And so Maslow represent like the hierarchy of it, right? The steps of it for you to get the self actualization. But we are trapped on those 3 levels of it. And so
Hmm.
people will choose to break through some of it, other ones will not. But that's
Hmm.
just like your comment about it, right? So we come to this lifetime to experience, that's my perception, okay? Everybody can think on their own, to experience love.
Love.
But how do we experience love?
Hmm.
Through the challenges. You had it your wake up call,
Hmm.
and you choose that, believe it or not, whenever you just like, because the only thing that we're sure about life, that we're all gonna die and pay taxes, right? Die physically. And every April 15, the Uncle Sam will be like knocking your door,
Yeah.
if you're in America.
Yeah.
So then that's how that started for myself. So, okay, if I'm physically, I will die. Who am I? What I'm
Yeah.
doing in this world?
Yeah.
It's really about waking up, going to work, stress, eat, come back, watch TV, and sleep. That
Yeah.
is more than that. In my case, was like love, right? That's how I have like
Love.
my yes, that was like my wake up call because I was abandoned and rejected by my father before I was even born. So then in that time, my father, he was a truck driver. So
Mhm.
then he met my mom and then he got involved with my mom. And when my mom got pregnant after 5 years being together with him, so he just tell her, I am married. I have a family. So then her entire world just like fall, right?
Yeah.
So then one day in my life, I met this boyfriend and he was a truck driver. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And so I'm not gonna get married with somebody that is married with another person. I'm not gonna get pregnant because that's I don't want it, right? Story of my life. And then he's gonna abandon me because he has another family and all of that. So my brain was playing that the experience over and over. And then I asked God, what does this represent for me? What is about that? So initially I have that thoughts. But and then 1 year and a half later, I found out that he was cheating on me. So
Mm.
then whenever I found that out, I say, okay, what love is about it? That was my first break heart. 33 years
Mhm.
and then
Yeah.
relationships dynamic for me did not last longer, those kind of things. And then in
Yeah.
that moment, I start questioning what love means because he was
Yeah.
saying that he loved me, but he was there with another woman, and then he sent me a bouquet of flowers saying that he loved me. I was like, what the heck? And then I went to the rabbit hole. And then that's when I just, yeah, the rabbit hole. So then that's when I just find out that he came into my life as a representation of my father for me to forgive myself, to
Mm.
be in that experience and to release myself from that relationship with my father. So
Mm.
then that's when I accept that without my father, I could not be in here in this earth, experience life. And so that was like my spiritual awakening. So then that's when I start connecting the dots, right?
Okay. Right.
He was like a drive trucker and all of that. And then, like, all of this suddenly, I was like, okay, so now I need to forgive myself, set myself free because that relationship with my father and to keep moving forward in life. So then everything started happening. But just like we are sharing in here, everybody will have their own experience to embrace life, to experience what love means. And so I just was very like grateful whenever I understood that, right, intellectually. But the
Right.
process going through was really hard, as was for you and everybody that's choose that path of like reconnecting with yourself and embracing who you are and being authentic for that. And I just would like to extend this conversation and ask you, how did art support you throughout these years? Because the way that I met you, it was in a art district, right? In an
Yeah.
art fair, and was just beautiful just to witness your arts. And we start to talk and we start to see all of these beauty between arts and between feelings and how can we connect art with feelings. So I just would like to extend that how arts has been support your journey.
It's been pivotal. It's been crucial, actually. When I was sick, I got as I was recovering, like, I think I had gone through chemo, but I was still very fragile as I was finishing chemotherapy, which was, like, the end of active treatment, and, I got accepted to in a show. I got invited to participate in a show at the Cummer Museum in Jacksonville. the Lifts exhibit, which was based off of James Weldon Johnson and his brother's song "Lift Every Voice and Sing." Anyway, it was a big deal because the Comer it's a very reputable museum in that city, and so it was an important show. And I was invited, and I had just removed before I got diagnosed. I had just moved back to Jacksonville after being away for about 5 years, living in California, then living in Tampa, and so I was re-entering into the art community after being gone for a while. And so I was honored, like really above the moon, honored that I was put in a show so high up so soon, but also I was very fragile, and being have work to do, having something important to work on while I was recovering was kinda like, it was like a lifeline, right? There was times when I come to the studio, and even though I was done with active chemotherapy, I was in the immunotherapy part of my program. So anyway, it kinda knocked me out. A lot of the medicine was very strong and a little toxic to me. So I would come to the studio, and my studio mates would see me, and I was so weak. I would crawl. Well, I would crawl up the steps to my door, right? And my friends would be like, "Why are you here?" And I say, "I have to work. I have to work." And having to work instead of staying in the bed and sleeping, resting, healing, which would have been completely valid and legitimate to do. The pull to get to the studio was like gave me life, gave me something to look forward to. And usually I would get to the studio, crawl into in there, and then I'd be so weak I couldn't work, but I'd be surrounded by my paintings. And so I'd be looking at the paint and I'd be drawing energy from the paintings. So even if I didn't get to paint when I got in there after driving there and crawling up to the door, I still was painting and getting fed spiritually from the work because that energy was in there, and I could see them. And so I was thinking I was painting in my mind. So I was still working, I just wasn't physically painting. So in any case, that work, and as I got stronger and stronger and stronger, and I fed off of each session. And so having that work though really helped my morale. Having that purpose really kept me going. So and even now, that also helped me think about how to connect the dots. It's like how important art is, whether you are making it or experiencing it, how it can help your energy, help your mood, help your spirit. It's part of the universe. It's part of connecting. That creativity is our gift to our community, our world, but it's also a gift to us. And so it's like it's a real symbiotic relationship. And I hope everyone experiences art, different forms of art, either as a maker or as a person consuming it. But it's actually it's interconnected. So even in the consumption you're making, because you're helping feed someone who's making, you give them energy, and you give them light just by supporting their work. So the art has been critical in my healing and in my growth as a person.
It's beautiful, and it was exactly the exchange that I experienced with you the first time that I met you, because I was present for your art, and I'm a curious person, and seeing all of your arts in there and just appreciating because I don't have that skill set yet. If I want it, I can develop because
Yeah,
we all
yeah.
creative, right?
Yep, yep,
We came from source. We are co-creating things,
yeah,
co-creators, and we all energy. We all energy. We vibrate. And most
absolutely.
beautiful, the most beautiful part whenever you're saying, "Oh, I was crawling there, but I was having the energy from the art." Because art really speak to us. And that's why I love art in any kind of sense, because art is just fulfilling us. And creating this podcast was my intention of like my art, because I
Right.
love to interact with people. I love to
Yeah,
listen to you guys' stories because it's so much in there, so much power that anybody that is listening to us can relate it to your story. Wow, I was going through in a chemo, like you were talking about the Comer Museum of Jacksonville. Just yesterday, I recording a podcast with Wade. He is the gardener of the Comer
okay.
Museum.
Yeah,
He was
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
oh nice. See, a small word. Whenever you
Yeah,
say
yeah,
that,
yeah.
How nice. And then he had his own story with cancer. So he
I
lost
didn't know
his
that.
husband from a cancer, pancreas
Okay,
cancer.
yeah,
And whenever he shared that with me, that also was his strength in life.
yeah,
Just the dots connecting now, right? Yesterday I recorded with him, and then today I recorded with you, and just the art. He found his art with plants, and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
a hairdresser, right? Too. So he found the art with the plants. You found the art with the painting, with the brushes, and all. When you're talking with the brushes, you're just connecting with them and just like expressing your feelings. Everybody has their own unique way of expression. And instead of like keeping suppressing and repressing ourselves to fit in a societal box, we need to just like allow to be who we are. But also I hold a lot of space for my clients, and I can see how challenging it is for them to deprogram the mind, to really like, okay, now I am open to explore the new territory, but that is a lot of fear behind because it's the unknown. Just the same
mhm,
for you, I bet was a lot, because now you have this experience with cancer. So now who am I? What I'm doing
right,
here,
yeah, exactly,
right? And then
yeah,
I have to embrace this, because if I don't embrace it, this is gonna kill me.
yeah,
And okay, you mentioned too that you're a fighter.
yeah,
Your drive for that support you to break through. All of the strength and everything, just the art just came in and just like rising you up and make you blooming the most
uh,
beautiful. Yeah, it is. That's how I see, because it's really that, because we are art. The
I agree,
divine
yeah,
created us energetically, and we all have the signature in the universe, right? You are you, me and me, but at the end, whenever we come back to source, we come back to source as a one, in a
mhm,
whole. And so, as
mhm,
right now, we have the illusion of the mind that we are separate from source, that
mhm,
now we are refining back our way back home, which is the center of who we are. It's the love, it's like finding yourself again, and creating and sharing all of that with us. So I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to meet you in person, and to congratulate your word and to appreciate, because without that appreciation I could not be in here sharing that with others, because I'm pretty sure that whoever it's listened to us, it's going to feel your courage, it's going to feel inspired, because it's a truly I experience that you had. So thank you for that.
well, thank you for I'm glad I appreciate you coming to visit me in the studio. That was I remember I was meeting, and I remember every time we got to talk when we were walking around the city, so it's always been a pleasure. So I'm honored to be included onto your creation, your podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, we are just exchanging that, right? So it's the beauty of it. And just to extend a little bit with your family, how has been to your daughters, like having like an artist mom, and how has been to the soda, to the
Soda pop. Soda pop. Well, to my daughter, they're artists too, actually. They do different things than me. They're more digital, but I always try to encourage them to use their senses, and so to do some things that are not digital. Like I'm analog. I like analog too. So I'm more about having balance, and so I try to encourage them to be balanced. Yeah, they're artists, and they're great. They have. I was the kind of person that I have to I learn by seeing and doing and stuff like that, but they have like an imagination. As like a kid, I didn't have an imagination like them. Their imagination is through the roof. So they don't have a lot of realism and stuff, but they have a great imagination. So I have a lot of realism, but my imagination is not so good. So I learn from them, and hopefully they can learn from me, and we can be
yeah.
we can get closer to some balance. So, but I think that's one of the big things about I feel fortunate that I can learn from my kids as much as, they I hope they learn from me. So, they're pretty cool kids. I feel fortunate to have them, even though they drive me crazy a little bit, but they're pretty cool. And that
We are
solar power.
crazy to a certain degree.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I they between me and their dad, I mean, they can't help but be a little crazy. So, but they're great kids, and their cat, the cat is I'm the grandma, and he doesn't even like me. He used to like me, but I don't know. He doesn't like me at all now. Like he's a grump to me, but he's very
Really?
loving to them. Yeah. Every time if I say his name, he'll growl. But if I firm hand him, if I touch him firmly, he'll growl, but he won't fight me. He's like he'll just be like, but it's like he resents me being around him because I take attention from him and the girls. But anyway, he's a sweet pea. He's just a grump, and I've learned to accept he's a grump with me right now, and it's okay. Like I used to resent it and hurt my feelings, but now I've grown to the point where I can accept him and his grumpiness for whatever reason he has it. I'm hoping he'll grow out of it. But right now him and me don't he doesn't like me that much, but I love him, and I named him. So he's a beautiful cat. He's a snowshoe, which is a very it's a odd breed, and so anyway, he's part of our family.
Oh, beautiful. It's the he's on unique way, but I think he's jealous of you and with the girls. That's why
Maybe,
he show us a
maybe,
crappy. Like, I
maybe.
don't like you, and then you're not gonna
Yeah,
be here. So it's a
yeah.
jealousy.
Well, the thing is that one of the girls, my oldest, he thinks that that's his mom, and the youngest, he thinks that he's her mom. And so with me, he's like, "I don't know why you're here. Like you're like, why are you here?" And I'm the mom. So he resents me. I do think there is a jealousy going on, but I don't know. We're doing a lot of psychology on cat, but I think that there is some truth to that. We'll see.
Let me know later how that
Yeah,
works.
yeah. Stay tuned.
Let's just expand for the image memories of Starburst that you share with us, and I'm gonna put
Yeah.
it on the
Okay.
picture in here.
Okay.
So
Thank
you
you.
mentioned that is part of your Kaylee Scope series.
Kaleidoscope. You ever
Kaleidoscope.
seen a kaleidoscope? It's like a toy we used to play with. You look through the tunnel and you can see all the spectral of the colors.
Yes, uh-huh. Yes, I can see there in here through the image that you sent it to me, and I will put it in
Yeah.
here so our audience can
Okay,
see.
good.
Would you like to share with us how was the inspiration for you to leave that painting in the Jacksonville? It is on Baptist MD Anderson Cancer Center in Jacksonville.
Yeah, well, that's where it's in their collection now. When I was creating it, it's part of a series, the Kaleidoscope series. It's about joy and abstraction, and specifically Black joy and Black abstraction, which a lot of people are not. I'm primarily an abstract artist, and a lot of people don't. When they think of abstraction, they don't think of a person of color being an abstract artist, and even in the African American community, there's not a lot of knowledge about abstraction. But there is a plethora of information and all the artists throughout generations that have been people of color who have dedicated their life to creating abstract work and the importance of that. But that also goes back specifically with me. It is a connecting situation, whereas abstract thought is actually part of our human story, and abstract thought is a higher order thinking. It's a higher order process in terms of our brain and the neuroscience of the way our brain is developed. Lower order thought is about recognition, which is more where realistic thought art is. Where you see a tree, it's a painting of a tree. It's a tree. It's painting of a person. It's a person. But when you abstract that painting of a person into something else, and it's of the person, but it's more of their essence, that takes the viewer has to the brain has to work harder to conceive that, right? And so it expands. It causes the human's brain to expand, and a lot of people are uncomfortable with that expansion, which is fine. But for those who are willing to push themselves, I think you're always going to be benefited. So with the series, it's about the thinking. Is I created it listening to jazz, which is to me, in terms of music, is one of the higher forms of music, in my opinion, especially improvisational jazz, like, the great period with Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis and all that. And so I listened to one of Miles Davis's albums over and over again while I started creating a lot of the works in that series, specifically Memories of Starburst. And because I believe there's a connection between music and movement, and so I wanted to explore the movement of responding to the frequency and the wavelengths of the music, the sounds that I was hearing in the compositions, and translating them into the colors I use and to actually the movement of my body while I created the work. So it's part of all of that. And so I was very pleased. It's a very intuitive way to develop the painting, the way I painted the kaleidoscope series. It's kind of like they kind of connect like a puzzle, and I'm putting the colors together like a puzzle, even though it's paint. Um, yeah, so that's what the series is about.
I love it. It's just so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us because it's really that fulfill my heart so much because
Thank you.
it's about motion, right?
Yeah,
Our body
yeah,
was designed to move. The energy is designed to keep evolving, keeping moving. So whenever people get like stuck, it's just because they are not allowing the energy to move through.
right,
So everything, it's the outside word, it's a reflection the inside word, right? Believe it or not, it's up to you to not saying you, but the others, right? So it's up to
right.
you to believe. Go and do your own research, right? So I got that understanding from my own experience. So what else do I need to move inside in order for me to co-create my reality? So
Absolutely.
the way that our brain process the data, it's like through our sense, right? So then the brain process, so it's kind of like a holographic way of being. So then I am projecting things around. I'm co-creating things around. So how can I move that energy through? How can I just like expand? And just like you say, it is uncomfortable as AF. However, it's necessary for us to
Yeah,
keep evolving because you just, I mean, we have a brain, right? And then we have so much potential to explore the brain that we have. It's just up to some people to explore, other ones don't want to explore. And like we say, it's okay, you know? So then you are limiting yourself. And just to see that visual of the art, and then you just explaining the motion of you moving through through the music. And then I love music too. I have the tattoo, and music, it's frequency that
absolutely.
can
Yeah,
shift my way of being. That's why you are listen over and over to Marvin and just like getting the movement, the flow of that. So which was pretty awesome. And
I'm sorry, I had to move. My battery's about to die. Hold on, so I should have charged it up when I could have. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
yeah, 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 I still can hear you. You're fine. I'm glad that you were aware to see that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to. I was able to share that with you. Thank you for asking about the work.
Oh, absolutely. I make sure that I was honoring your art as well as I'm honoring you to being this time in here with us as right now. And as we're getting to the end of this podcast, the Canva that we've been creating in here together, now you're having the opportunity to create this message for the world. Everybody is going to see your art. It's going to be in the outdoors, in our phones, right? I'm receiving your painting now. What would be the message that you would like to share with us, Princess?
When they look at my artwork,
Yeah. So I'm receiving here your painting. What is the message in that painting?
well, let me see. Let me look. It's well, really, really about connecting the dots and being open minded. And I guess if I could leave you with one thing that I would like to inspire you with is what people have told me from the cancer center when they come out of oncology and come out of chemo, they actually see that painting and it's filled them with life and emotion, and motivation. It gives them energy to go just by when they're checking out. That's the painting they're looking at, and so I've been told that it is kind of inspires them instead of feeling down because you kind of feel drained after you get your infusions. It's been uplifting. I think it's because it's colorful, but also it's energizing, and that was my intention. So I'm always pleased when I hear that. That's how it's being received from people. But I think if I could sum it up in one word, I think I would encourage people to think about their brain not in sections left or right, is to think about their brains a whole thing, and to try to grow and to encourage yourself to be a whole brain person. Instead of accepting I'm a left or right brain person, try to make the connection that your whole brain can be utilized. And that's a lifelong journey that's worth it. And so I hope my work helps to encourage that and being an encourager and also being an energizer and creating stuff that helps energize and encourage my fellow human.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that encouragement with all of us. And we do receive that. And thank you for being your best. Thank you for doing the best out of your experience because it's really embraced that. And you've been proved through this journey with us in here that you're just like, "Oh, I take it, I fight for it." So thank you so much for doing that.
Well, thank you again for having me on the podcast, and I appreciate it and stuff. And I'm so glad that I got to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. And for whoever would like to connect with Princess, we're going to have her links in the description. So please reach out, share your story, and then just to tell her how have she has been inspired you and all of that. So thank you so much for listening to us and stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Bye bye.
And now, we're shifting gears. What you're about to hear is the real behind the scenes conversation, raw, honest, and exactly as it unfolded without cutting it.
My
Yes,
lighting's
yes,
okay.
the
Okay.
lighting, it's perfect. Everything, it's perfect. I was just adjusting my computer in here too. I have the lights on in here. But basically, what we've been talking, it's really about that, Princess. We were not taught how to be, and we are human beings. Does that make sense? Human being. And
Mm,
the most attractive part of our existence, it's the being, which we go against to it and doing it.
mm,
And as you are teaching your daughter that part, it's very interesting because the list, I typically feel overwhelmed with my list, right? Just
mm.
like that. I mean, here, I have that list. Everybody
Right,
has. And I feel just like
right.
cutting off and all of that. What I choose to do is three things in a
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
So this can be realistic.
yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
when
I
that,
mean, I'm happy if I get one. I'm at the point now, well, if I get one thing at the list, even though I have this big goal, if I get one, then I don't beat myself up. You did something. You know what I mean?
yes,
Did something.
exactly. But it's also the internal work, actually.
Yeah,
And you
that's
just
the
need,
real work.
yeah, it's all about that because you
Yeah.
say, like, I don't beat myself. But why we beat ourselves?
Because we're a product of a capitalist system. What are you talking about? Yes, we're raised in capitalism, so it's.
But that's the programming,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
as we becoming aware of that programming, we are able to make new choices over and over again as we are just in that place of self-awareness. And it's not an easy thing to do it.
No,
Not at all. But guess what? You are doing it.
some days better than others, but yes, I'm trying.
But
You too.
you are navigating on that. And that's the beauty of life because you gotta choose every day to stay in here and to embrace ourselves because it's not about others. In your case, it would be a little different because of your daughters, right? And as you were just sharing with me, it was about your daughters. But and then become to yourself once and again. How you are
Well,
just interacting with the external world from your priorities and your projects, because I do believe they are beautiful projects because you are serving humanity.
Thank you for saying so.
Yeah, I believe so because that's what we're here for, to serve each other.
Yeah. Hopefully. Some of us are. I don't know if everybody is, but some of us are here to serve each other and to build community. To build community. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is a beautiful thing. And even the others we think that they are not serving, they are
Mhm.
still serving us unconsciously from their
Mhm.
own act, because that give us the perspective about like acknowledging that and make a new choice again. It's not
Mhm.
comparing, but it's acknowledging, having the contrast. That's the best word to describe contrast about what it is. Okay, I am not choosing to have that interaction as that person it's doing it. So then I gotta let it go. Because if I don't let it go, centering my energy on that, which is not healthy for my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I'm choosing to not put a energy in here because it's not fulfilling myself. So it's draining myself. How I can redirect my energy towards to something greater, because I got to the point, Princess, in my life that I cannot control others. I wish we couldn't have a beautiful word, and we do have a beautiful word. At the end, sword, God, universe, it's doing what it is doing it.
Yeah.
We gotta trust, and even we don't understand, don't accept, we gotta trust. At the end, we all gonna be fine. That's how I choose to believe in life from my own experiences as well, because I cannot
Sure.
fight with a lot of like things going on as right now in this craziness,
Yeah, it's a lot.
cannot control, and so it's a challenge, but like we're going to talking about make us grow because you'd like to connect the dots, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I like to connect the dots, and, I think that's difficult, especially the way things are, but because I think this world is not designed for that anymore, they don't appreciate that, but I think one way of for us to get back to more closely to being connected to the earth and to our environment and to our community is by connecting the dots.
Yeah, and as we're talking about the connecting the dots, let me just introduce this podcast for our audience that it's now being listened to this unscripted moment. And
Okay.
as we're falling, girl, let me stop the recording. Maybe
Okay.
we can just continue and then I can just cut later. What is a beautiful journey. Really it is. So you've been so brave, girl.
Oh, thank you. I'm tired right now, but, I appreciate it. It's been an energizing conversation, so I appreciate that too. Thank you. I was kinda grumpy today, so, this has been energizing, so I appreciate it.
Exchange.
Yeah, energy exchange. Absolutely.
I'm very grateful that I was able to help you out in your hardest day too. So because that's how it has been, right? So I asked God, like, please help me to see it. How can I serve you? And I say, surprise me. And the most beautiful thing that I've been experienced today, right, with my clients in the morning, throughout my day, and now with you in here, it's humility. How I am so humble to be in this space of like feeling gratitude for interacting with others and just to witness their journey, because it's really challenge for all of us. We're all in the same boat,
Yeah, yeah.
basically.
The world of Earth.
For now, in this
For now.
dimension.
Exactly, exactly,
And then
exactly.
whenever we break through this body, we're gonna be in another dimension. And
Hopefully, yeah,
who knows how it's going to be, right? And whenever
yeah,
you say like, please just be in a whole with your brain, that is not separation, that is
yeah,
oneness. That
yeah,
is a course which call like the a course in miracles, which says like the problem is the separation, And the solution is the wholeness.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we've been experiencing as a human beings. We were disconnect from source
Uh,
to come to this lifetime to experience love, what I just shared, right? So then the way back to the source is to remember who we are.
yeah, definitely remember because
Yeah.
I think there's something into the forgetting. And I think too, like, there's a connection between the idea of trauma or the experience of trauma and causing forgetting. And in some aspects, forgetting could be a mercy, but also it's also a loss too. And so I guess back to my other point about it's not an either or situation. I mean, there may be a it may be necessary to forget sometimes, but it's also necessary to remember. And maybe that's a life. That could be part of the string we're on where we have to there's a time to remember and it's a time to forget. It's a forgetting and a remembrance, and we're all in this flow in the universe of that. So
Yeah.
that's so interesting. I need to write that down. I need this
Do
conversation.
it. And do it and create something visual for us.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
It's about that. I just thought like maybe I can just write it a music with that too, because that
Yeah.
will be very nice. I was just in a community, an Indian community, the Art of Living, Saturday, and people were chanting, right? And they were chanting like the vibration of the universe, all of the
Hmm.
chanting that they do in their culture. So then I have this father and daughter, they created the music talking about consciousness, talking
Hmm.
about like the angels, right? The way that they've been experienced lifetime in here. So then he was playing, she was singing, and then we were just like, who else would like to share a song? And then and I could not share because I never thought about writing a song, something like that, right? So then in this conversation, because we had at this end, I was like, what if? And then just like, I need to write it down. I was like, what if I just created a song with that? See, it's
Absolutely.
about creation. We are creating together, which is
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, let me hear
Okay.
it when you do it.
Yeah, so visual or the writing, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
whenever I feel that, I'm just doing the music and then I can chant with them. Who knows? That's gonna be
Yeah,
exciting. I never done that, so
yeah,
I'm excited.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
awesome. Girl, thank you so much, Princess. So your last name's Hashid?
Rashid.
Oh, that's what is
So
your
it's
original?
Princess Simpson. My maiden name is Simpson,
Huh?
and so my married name is Rashid.
Where is your husband originally from?
He's American, but, his father converted to Islam when he was a kid, but his father's family name is actually Macbeth. Most of his family are Macbeths, but but his father converted to Islam, so his part of the family their names are Rashid. So,
Okay.
but,
Yeah,
it
that's
was because of the father.
okay.
We kept it for now, but one day you might see me Princess Macbeth. Well, hold on. We'll see.
Oh,
Or maybe I just go one word, princess, princesa. That's it.
oh,
One
princess,
leg.
yeah, that's what we say in the
Princesa.
Portuguese. The princess, the crown.
Exactly, princesa.
I love it. Girl, thank you so much. It was
Well,
nice
thank
to
you, Amanda.
see you and talk
You
with
too.
you.
You too,
And
you
let me
too.
know whenever you come back to Jacksonville, okay?
All right, I will. Thank you so much for reaching out.
Yeah, let's get together, get some coffee, or even go
Yeah.
and walk, some hiking, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I love to go. Yeah, there's some photography I wanna do. I wanna go out back in nature and take some pictures and stuff. So yeah, I will definitely hook you up and see what we can do.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm down for
chanting
that.
too. I'm open to chanting too.
Let's do it. Everything together, okay?
I'm all about vibration, so let's do it.
I'm a very metaphysical girl too. I love metaphysics and everything, vibration. You aware about what his name again? He's huge on it. Just forgot. Let me see one of the books in here to remember his name. Joy Dispenza.
Mm,
You aware
Jordan
about
Spencer.
him?
No.
I will share
No.
some documentaries. He has a lot of books. He talk about vibration and how we heal our body through the vibration. He's
Okay.
he's really good. So basically that's what you were doing after you just going to the studio, right?
Yeah,
You are
yeah.
you are healing your body through the arts because colors has a frequencies. And that's
Yeah.
why you were there receiving in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked all about vibration. So you might enjoy his topics and all of that.
Yeah, please do. Share it with me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, rest well. Take
Yeah,
some
okay.
self-care, and enjoy this moment. And tomorrow it's a new day.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, you too. You have a good night.
Thank you. Bye. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
You too. Bye.
Thank you.